Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike and tech-related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below using the hashtag askgcntech, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible.
In the allotted time, obviously.
So this week's first question comes from Jared Fife.
Yeah, so he says, I've got a question for GCN. How can Jumbo use a 10 to 11 cassette if us consumers cannot buy one ourselves?
A 10 to 30 cassette, sorry.
10 to 30, did I say 10?
10 to 11.
Oh,
That's a very narrow ratio.
That's a very small ratio.
Yeah.
10 to 30 cassette, sorry. I thought it had to be available to the general public, not only the pros for them to use it.
Yeah, well, so this comes from your Tour Down Under tech video.
Yes, it does.
Because that's what you saw them using. Now, yes, technically you're correct. According to UCI rules, all the equipment used has to be commercially available. This is something they are actually getting stricter on for the Paris Olympics.
Yeah.
So that's going to have ramifications there. We'll probably do a tech show talking about that because they are clamping down on it.
Certainly on like frame designs is like the biggest thing,
yes,
isn't it?
but and helmets as well, special wacky aero helmets. However, there's often been almost like, it feels like a blind eye turned towards this with certain things that aren't seen as major infractions. So for example, the Continental Pro Limited tubular tyres.
For years they've been going,
You've never been able to buy them,
Yeah.
but like the pros all use them. So that's an example. And then often there's been weird chain rings and things and cassettes, and these things it's quite common.
Yeah.
They're only used by the pros. In this instance, it might be a cassette that's going to become commercially available. It's just not been.
I think there's a time frame given, basically.
Yeah, where you're allowed to use prototype stuff.
Yeah, and then it has to gradually become available for the public. So I think maybe give it 6 months, a year, you might see this cassette.
Yeah, keep an eye on it. It might become available.
What's next? You go.
Rick Vidberg, who says, this one's for Ollie.
Oh, if it's for you, shall I read the question out?
Yeah, go for it.
For because it's an aero question. Because I don't know anything.
You know loads.
So all those new showed up aero bikes have an aero-shaped cockpit, so the horizontal piece. Because of their shape, there's no way of mounting loose time trial bars on it. And they're saying in brackets, I want the Canyon Air Road, using it for triathlon, and then hence they want to add time trial bars. Is there another solution that doesn't just include swapping out all of the handlebar setup? P.S. Get this right, hope Manon has better wrapping skills.
Okay, with this, there are actually tri-bars now available. You're more limited, and you can't have the ones that have designed to clamp onto a round. I'm going to do that onto a round. That's a meme. I've seen it on the internet.
Oh,
people have screenshotted me doing that.
Yeah, old people talk about memes.
Anyway, there are tri-bars now that clamp onto aero cross sections of modern aero cockpits.
So you've got to shop around, basically.
Shop around, search for it. There are some, and they have different shims to go on different bars.
Whilst it is a shame to swap out the aero profiled handlebars, if you're going to be using a time trial bar, then really there isn't a big deficit by changing to a traditional bar and stem setup, because most of your advantage is going to come from the position that you put your body in.
Yeah, but people still might want to keep the other bar on.
That's fair enough. Next question in is from DD. They say, hey Ollie and Alex, is it true that tan wool or skin wool tyres are actually worse than the classic ones in terms of grip? Are they really more slippery because they have no rubber on the sidewall to keep the weight lighter than classics? Thanks. So I have heard a rumour about this before, not specifically in terms of the grip, because your tyre grip comes from the tread, not the sidewall. You don't ride on the sidewall of your tyre. If you are, you're doing something wrong, you're basically crashing.
Yeah.
But I heard, I think it might have been Dan Bigham that said about this, is that the different rubber used in some of the tyres, when they use them to make them the tan wool colour, it's a slightly different compound, and it might be ever so slightly higher rolling resistance, therefore a little bit slower.
Or it could be lower.
Yeah, but there is a slight difference because they use a different rubber compound basically to make that colour.
Well, it was like Vittoria only made the fastest tyre with the grey sidewall. They stopped making it with the tan. Maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, that's the same sort of story, I think.
Yeah, but as Alex says, to answer the main part of the question, if you don't ride on the sidewall of the tyre, so even though it looks like on a tan wool tyre there's just this strip of tread down the middle, you might think you might do, but a simple way you can test this is if you hold your bike and then you just angle your bike down and lean against it, you can see the lean angle that you get on the bike, and you'll be able to see that the sidewall is still not in contact. It's still the tread.
Yeah.
Have a play with that at home, and you'll be
You're not
like,
getting
whoa.
to MotoGP levels of lean angle on your bike, are you?
No. Well, I'm not anyway.
Yeah, me neither, to be honest.
Yeah.
Next question in is from Underbelly. Interesting news.
Yeah, this is a question on the onesies video that we did.
All right. Shall I read it out?
Yeah, go for it.
Hey guys, I have a question. Would lubing your arms and legs save watts? We're talking oil, Vaseline, cream to make you more slippery. I don't think it would. Just make you really slippery.
I think it might do. I don't know.
No, that's not making the slightest
Well, unless you test it, I don't know. Like if you.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not riding around Vaseline on my arms.
If you can
and legs.
reduce the skin friction of an object, then you can potentially make it.
Well, you're gonna.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
I'm going to put it out there now. If we do a video about this, you're putting cream on your own legs. All right. On an actually more sensible note, I know we've just been joking. I personally don't see any way, in theory, how they work, but I've got to be fair, I've never seen any testing done on this to say whether it is or not.
Yeah. That's yeah. Right. Christoph Andreeve.
Have you got that Vaseline over?
Yeah. Christoph Andreeve on the aero versus lightweight bike video. It's been very popular, that. He says, great video. Thanks, man. Here is another good idea for a video.
Ooh.
Where are your watts better spent, on climbs or on flats? Go on the same mixed terrain, do it with the same bike. Try, one going zone 2 on the flat and then threshold on the climb, and then try it by going sort of zone 3, on the
I got
where
you.
you spend your watts.
So look at two different methods: ride a continual effort everywhere, or invest more of your effort on the climbs, medium on the flats, and easy on the descents. Well, I can tell you now, that's the quickest option: is to go hard on the climb, medium on the flat, easy on the descents.
Yeah. So actually, I did a video about this a couple of years ago, which not many people watched because I think.
Well, Chris didn't watch
I
it.
think the title put people off because it scared people, because it was like how maths can make you faster.
Oh.
And I think as soon as people so search for that vid, but like it's not super maths heavy, so don't worry. But maths does put
Maybe
people
could have
off.
titled it a bit better.
Yeah, probably could have done. But the upshot is that when people have done, mathematicians have worked all this out, and you always want to spend more power where you're going slowest. So that would be on an incline or into a headwind. And what you find is that the more that you can polarize the power output, the faster you will go. The limiting factor becomes how much you can actually realistically polarize your effort. So for example, if I was going up, a slight incline into a headwind, and then it was a time trial and it was downhill tailwind on the way back, then the ideal thing would be to ride as hard as I could into the sort of headwind hard section, and then really have hardly any watts.
You got
on the way
wind
back.
and gravity helping you on the way back.
Yeah, but say you can only ride a certain amount of power above your threshold. You can't in theory it would be hold 400 watts the whole way out and then average 200 watts on the way back. But realistically, I can't do that. So
I think the easiest way of summarising it is invest more of your effort when it's going to make the biggest improvement to your speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But up to a point.
Yeah. Okay, right, next question is from Lucas. They say, hey there, loving the video as always. I always find myself sitting on the nose of the saddle instead of the centre. To resolve this, is it better to shorten my stem length, or should I move the saddle forwards? Well, they're the two different ways of looking at it. And personally, it really depends what you find is the reason why you're sitting on the nose of the saddle. It could be that naturally your body tends to operate better in that position, and therefore I would put the nose forwards in order to try and keep your body in the same position. Whereas if you change the stem length, I feel like it's going to have a bigger impact on the angle of your upper body.
Yeah. The other thing is I'm always conscious of people going too far forwards over the bike. I think think about the cars. It's optimum for a car to have equal weight distribution front and rear. and not too much weight forwards. And as soon as you start putting the saddle slammed forwards, there has been a trend for that in bike fitting, but it does put all your weight over the front wheel of the bike, which I think has negative implications for handling.
Okay.
So that's something to be conscious of if you're pushing your saddle forwards. Other thing is you might not have the right saddle. Like, I for years rode a particular type of saddle, and I found that through pressure mapping stuff that we did, that I sat on the nose of it. Upon switching to a saddle that actually suited me better, I then started to sit into the saddle. So that was the one I now use on like every bike, which is the Sella Italia SLR Boost, which is actually a shorter saddle, but I'm sitting in the saddle, I'm not sitting on the nose.
Okay, right. Last question, do you want to read this out?
Yeah, it's from Lucas Nensteel, who says, Dear GCN Tech team, I was wondering if a change in position on the bike affects the Zone 2 range, talking about its power output. It says, when riding in an aero hoods position, my heart rate increases about 10 beats per minute more than when I'm sort of sat upright. Should I be lowering my intensity when riding in Zone 2? Thanks for that.
Well, heart rate's affected by lots of things, and I would say your body is obviously adapted to the different position that you're riding in. So practice really how you're going to ride the most and then work from that.
Yeah. So a bit more of an extreme example of this would be like riding a time trial position. So if you're trying to ride on tri-bars or time trial position, people often struggle to get as much power out, and their heart rate is often higher for the same kind of power output. It's something I've experienced myself. Yeah, but like as Alex points out, it's just a case of time in that position, training yourself in that position. The more you do it, the more your body will adapt to putting out the power in that position, and your heart rate will probably not be as high.
Like anything, practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, adapt.
Adapt, yeah. Okay, right, that was our last question of this week's Tech Clinic. Hope that's helped everybody out. As always, if we haven't got to your question, keep commenting it in the comment section down below, and we'll get to it in the coming weeks, won't we?
Yeah.
Right.
See you later.